Jason says, so have you both done the exercises according to your respective types in the book? I'm working on mine right now, INTJ, but I feel like I ideally need a float tank first for the exercise on page 162 before I write some stuff down. If you feel like you're in a grip, go to a float tank. If you feel like you're right now really dealing with a lot of challenges around just like resting into and trusting your intuition, and you find yourself kind of maybe being stymic, then go to a float tank for sure. But you're always going to, and by you, I mean kind of capital U. Have you ever seen you spelled with all capitals, which means like the collective you? So I'm going to just talk to Jason here. The collective you will always want to do the exercises for your driver function because that's your flow state and it's going to feel really good. So please feel free to do that if you believe you've not been in flow recently, if you feel like you've not been in flow often enough, if your energy is low, your batteries need regenerating, go do the thing that takes care of your driver first and foremost for sure. But don't fall into the trap of it feeling super duper good and never going to your co-pilot, because that is what we all want to do, and that just does not serve us. Take care of your driver, get it resourced, and then as soon as you can, go into the co-pilot. But you will need that resource. You will need the energy to be able to apply the co-pilot, because the co-pilot process is always going to be more of an energy suck for you. So make sure you're resourced in your driver and then move on to your co-pilot. Do not stay in your driver perpetually, because it just will not move the needle for you, and it won't be what you think it's going to be.
And your instinct is right around the perspectives process, the process you lead with. It's an INTJ, right? It's an INTJ. Just make sure that what's your type. You're right. Sensory deprivation is I'm right here on the page.
Okay.
It's the sensory deprivation that will really help you get in that process. Oftentimes, perspectives users report insomnia because the day has lots of stimulation, lots of sensory inputs coming towards you, and then you finally get in bed at night. The lights are out. It's quiet. It's dark, and your brain goes kaboom, and you're like wide awake for hours because your intuition is now on fire, taking all the things from the day and actually processing them, putting them in order, thinking about them, ruminating on them, having insights pop up. My mom's an INFJ, and she struggles with insomnia. She has for my entire life. So I think that's something that sensory deprivation, if you need to go to the extreme, getting in a float tank, do that. I don't think that's a challenge. We're trying to give it access point in the exercise for people that may not have access to that. Maybe they're in a different country or somewhere else that they don't have float tank available to them. So as much sensory deprivation as possible is really what the goal is.
And the answer is, the reason why I was looking it up is because I actually didn't remember what I wrote in for the exercises for introverted thinking.
No, it's introverted intuition.
I know, but he asked if we had done all the exercises.
Yeah.
I wrote these exercises based on all the things that I was doing to develop my introverted thinking and what I had recommended to clients that are working on introverted thinking to do, and were highest leverage. Yeah, so I have actually done all the exercises that I recommend for ENTPs.
Well, we had to cut stuff from the book. We were supposed to do like 65,000 words, and we ended up like
120,000 or something.
20,000. They're like, "What are you guys doing?" And we're like, all this has to be in here. And they're like, "Well, you got to take some out." So some of the stuff that didn't make it in the book will make it into those new discovery kits we're rebooting. Mm-hmm. So there will be more exercises and things in there too. So the resources haven't gone away. We're going to have more exercises. We keep developing for that.
Yeah, our publisher was not happy with their word count.
It was okay though.
But it was all right.
They surrendered to having a long book. What is it, 400 some pages?
Yeah. Yeah, it was supposed to be like half the size.
It's supposed to be like 280 or something, and it's like 4 or something. So, it costs more to print and all this. And they're like, "What are you guys doing?" And we're like, "This is good stuff. People needed to have this. We think it'll be helpful." And they agreed. So it was awesome.
All right. He says, page 33, the 4 questions listed. Holy crap. Took me quite some time and deep thought before I felt like I accurately and authentically answered them in my own words. So in your own words, could you answer those questions to help sink down my understanding, or so I can compare it and to maybe validate or help me see how maybe I could refine my answer, unless you feel like it would be too much of a spoiler? No. Okay. So page 33, this is after we talk about the difference between judgers and judging cognitive functions. The difference between a judger and a judging cognitive function is that a judger is somebody who is a judger, who has the dichotomy of judger. Anybody
J in their four-letter code.
Right. It's just the dichotomy of judger. And what that effectively means is that they're extroverting. And I don't know how, I think we, to some extent, go into this, but the purpose was to just not conflate judger with judging function. And judging cognitive function is not a person, right? A judger is a person who has J as one of their dichotomies, whereas a judging cognitive function is not a judger, it's a function. It's like a mental process that makes decisions. So that's the difference between the two. And the same is for perceiver. A perceiver is a person who has a P at the end of their 4-letter code. They're a perceiver. That's their dichotomy preference. But a perceiving cognitive function is not a person. It's just a mental process that allows you to take in new information. So that's the difference between the two.
And it is confusing. In fact, the page before that, we even say, time out, wait a minute. You're saying this judging function, I'm confused, and we try to unpack that on the page before.
Yeah.
And that's why we put the learning point pauses there, is as you're learning, it's a prompt for you to go back and go, wait a minute, maybe I didn't understand this. I need to understand this clearly before I move on, because there's the same words being used for two different things in the system. And so that's where a lot of people get confused or the breakdown happens. And we wanted to make sure that you had access to material that could help you make a distinction between the two. That's why those questions are there on page 33. So hopefully that gives some insight into that. This is it's a challenge to make sure we can communicate this clearly. So that's why those questions are there, because it's really helping you go back and reflect on what those things mean. Hey, it's Joel Markwood, Antonia Dodge. Thanks for watching that video. You can go get a copy of Personality Hacker in any bookstore online. You can order it from your local bookstore in your town, which is cool because then you can support the local bookstores in your town. But this book is really powerful. It's separated into 2 sections. The first part is theory of the system, of the way we approach Myers-Briggs. We talk about the CAR model. We unpack how to learn about your cognitive functions. And the second half of the book goes into each of the 16 individual personality types.